Hello.
Hello.
Who are you? You're not Pickle.
I think that was you said that the very first time.
Yeah, it's true.
Whenever I first did this show.
It's V&A Moreno, everybody. Can you put a little bit more me, or I'm sorry, can you put a little more you in my headphones? I can barely hear you.
Can't really hear me?
No, I want more V.
More V?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Is that better?
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
We'll get there. It's fine. Hello, V&A Moreno. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here every day, but I'm especially glad you're here today, because it's time for another installment of America's most controversial segment, Two Catholics Talking.
Two Catholics Talking.
So it's a big week.
It is.
It's a big week for the capital C Church.
Capital C.
First of all, it could be a very big week, unfortunately, for reasons that are not very good. Pope Frank is riding the struggle bus these days.
Uh-huh.
You know, he's in the hospital.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Pope Frank?
Wow.
Yeah. He's having a tough time. So that's one thing. But of course, Wednesday starts Lent. Yep. And Lent is when we're gonna be giving up some stuff, but especially on Wednesday. Wednesday's Ash Wednesday. You know, everyone talks about tomorrow's Mardi Gras, obviously, big party, right? But then Wednesday's the main event, right? That's Ash Wednesday.
Yes.
In which all of us get to walk around looking like weirdos.
I don't think it's weird.
With smudges on our heads.
Not weird at all.
You don't think it's weird?
No, a little bit.
It's a little bit. It's very different. It's like the one day a year where like you can call out the Catholics. You can be like, they got you too, huh? They got you too.
You really can't call out a Catholic.
You can. It's like, because otherwise we really blend in.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
Yeah.
We're just kind of like cruising along, doing our thing, you know.
Yeah, that's funny.
My question for you is obvious. For those who don't know, Lent is 40 days leading up to Easter, etc. Actually, I think it's 40 days leading up to Good Friday. Right?
Is it? God, our Catholic cards are going to be taken from us.
I know, it's very bad.
Oh, no.
I want to say it's leading up to Good Friday, and then it ends in Easter. Good Friday is the Friday before Easter. You should know.
I think so.
And one of the things you're supposed to do is you're supposed to make some sort of sacrifice. That can be adding something to your life. That can be subtracting something to your life. It's, you know, the idea of...
For those 40 days.
For those 40 days. My question for you, V&A Moreno, fellow Catholic, fellow member of the tribe. What are we thinking?
You know, every year it's alcohol.
Same thing?
It's alcohol.
See, normally that would be a good call. In a couple weeks, I'm going to Mexico with my wife. I am not giving up alcohol for that. I gotta be honest.
So we're just giving up.
What's that?
So we're just giving up.
We're just giving up. That's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to give up for Lent. So one year, this was true. Back right when I was out of college, I think I was like 23 or 24, I gave up hot showers for Lent.
Hot showers?
Yeah, so I took cold showers for 40 days.
Wow.
It's tough. Tough scene.
That's so good for. Isn't that so good for like your immune system?
I think the idea is supposed to be like it's good for, like, you know, I mean, there are people who, like, now, like Joe Rogan will tell you that that like cold plunges are good, but Joe Rogan's also got some other bad ideas. I don't know. It's a controversial, but I did do that 1 year. I will just tell you that most notably, I did that 1 year. And have not gone back to that well. That was not pleasant.
Yeah, that is. Well, people do like the cold plunges.
Yeah.
They like submerge themselves in the morning. I'm like,
I'm theoretically trying to get clean in there. You know what I mean? So like it's tough. So really, it was cleansing spiritually. That's what I'm saying. Anyway.
So what are you giving up again?
I don't know yet. I gotta think about it. I might give up working so hard. You know, might be a good idea. I don't know if my boss wants me to hear that or wants to hear that, but my idea. So you're gonna go sober Lent?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
But my best friend's birthday is also...
See, that's tough. I'm telling you. And also, by the way, as an Irish Catholic, St. Patrick's Day's in there too. My dad, that's my dad's bit. My dad, who, I think I've told you this, he's like Knights of Columbus, stuff like that. My dad's bit is like he gives up alcohol for Lent, except for St. Patrick's Day. He's like, what do you want me to do? Like, you mean like spit on my ancestors? Like, no. We take a 1-day break for that. Anyway, happy Lent.
Happy Lent.
Hit the theme expo.
Let's get it going.
Maybe. Yes, y'all. From the new Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas. It is Texas football today, a show that's just technically going great. No notes. Don't pay attention to the previous 2 minutes. I saw VNA. We have a window, like, so I can see into the control room, and VNA is just like furiously trying to figure out like which button to push. My name is Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine, TexasFootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us, whether you're watching us live at TexasFootball.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all the places, or you're also listening to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I'm sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. I am fairly certain that she was done dirty by Dave Campbell's Rising, and that's what ended up happening.
Okay, well, hey.
She's VNA Moreno. Hi, V.
A free promo for Rising, as you saw their intro.
They just like stacked up there.
They did.
Stacked up their intro like above the TFT intro. Let me tell you who runs this. Okay?
But I will, as our lovely executive producer Ashley Pickle will be coming in now.
Really?
Yes.
Oh wow. We're getting a line change in the middle of the show?
Yes, we are.
Wow. Okay.
We are.
Okay. Put the camera on me. Hi. Today is Monday, March 3rd, 2024. A mere 269 days until Thanksgiving. It's a happy birthday to Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone, would have been old today, but he's unfortunately no longer with us. He died in 1922. Our condolences to the Bell family. It's not Graham Bell. It's the Bell family. Anyway, it's episode 1830. On today's show, folks.
39.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, why can't I hear myself?
You're very low.
Yeah. What happened?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but more pickle.
Many people are not so.
Yeah. On today's show, folks, we got headlines from across the state, including a couple of big-time coaching changes across Texas high school football. And is girls 7-on-7 football on the horizon for the UIL? We'll find out together. And then back half of the show, this week in recruiting with Greg Powers, but it's a special one. It's Greg v. Greg. It's Greg on Greg violence. It's Greg's. We're breaking a couple Gregs. Okay.
Both Gregs walked into the office this morning and at the same time, and it was far too much Greg.
And guess what? Only one Greg's walking out. It's a battle of the Gregs. We got a couple of things to discuss as we've got a new batch of DCT of 3-star prospects, and Powers wants to identify a couple, and I've got a beef with a couple of them. We'll get into that coming up here at the back half of the program. As we welcome in Ashley Pickle. Hi, Ashley Pickle.
Sorry. Pantsuit Pickle got in the way.
Yeah.
I'm back, though. Not in a pantsuit, in a Snoopy shirt.
I wish that was your pantsuit. Do we have first four through the door?
TJ Hudson, jersey number 69, nice. Kyle Ramsey, and Corey Hankins. Welcome in, friends.
Welcome in, friends. We do appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with us on what is just a wild and woolly Monday here on Texas football today. Let's get in some headlines from across the state of Texas as we give you a little weekend around here. We're going to start with a coaching move there in Copperas Cove. It's been a very, very, very active coaching change season in Central Texas. Mart has come open. Temple has come open. A lot of big-time programs in Central Texas are making moves, and you can add Copperas Cove to the list. As they announced last week that Tony Johnson, their head coach, is moving into an administrative role, into an assistant athletic director role within Copperas Cove ISD, which is going to lead the Bulldogs with a W looking for a new head coach. It'll be fascinating to see exactly where they go here, because I think that, you take a look at what Coach Johnson has done there. He's been there for 3 seasons. Didn't go as well as they had hoped. They went just 8-22, but we know that there is such talent there, and there is such upside there with Copperas Cove. Fascinating to see where this goes. Really, since Jack Welch left in 2018, the Bulldogs have had just one playoff appearance, but this feels like a looming kind of giant. It's a one-school town there in Copperas Cove. We know they can succeed at the highest level. Hello, Robert Griffin III. They can do big things. I would expect Copperas Cove to have a very healthy candidate list there. Copperas Cove is open as Tony Johnson is moving into Copperas Cove ISD administration. A job that has closed, to borrow a phrase, is Bernie. You may remember that Shea Hendricks announced that he was going to be leaving to join the staff of the University of Arkansas, which has wide-ranging implications for the quarterback spot, too, because Hank Hendricks, his son, is an outstanding quarterback. But as I posted on Twitter, some job hirings are layups, but as Matt Stepp says, layups are worth 2 points. Bernie has promoted their defensive coordinator Brett Sawyer to be their next head coach. He's been the defensive coordinator for the Greyhounds for the last 7 seasons. Was a huge part of what has been a meteoric rise of this program, making it to a 4A Division I state championship game in 2022, and then to the 20s, and then as they moved to 5A, getting back to the state semifinals. He does have head coaching experience. Actually, he was the head coach at Sweeney for 3 years, taking them to a regional semifinal back in 2011. And then he went for 2 seasons at Baytown Sterling before moving over and taking the defensive coordinator job there at Bernie. So Brett Sawyer, the new head coach at Bernie High, considering their success, promoting from within always felt like the most natural move for Bernie, and they do just that with Brett Sawyer as the new head coach there at Bernie. Let's go to Cy Woods. Cy Woods is open was open, I should say. Spoiler for the end of this story. Because Cody Simper left to go take over at Barbers Hill. They have conducted their search, and they have come up with a head coach, and they have gone far-flung here, as they announced on Friday that they will be hiring Jeremy Hickman to be their next head coach. Now, if that name rings a bell, that is because Jeremy Hickman has been the head coach at Fort Stockton for the last 3 seasons. Way out west. 4A program. Went 25-9 in 3 seasons there at his alma mater. Did fantastic stuff there. Won just their, and this is a Fort Stockton program, he took them to just their 3rd playoff win in program history back in 2022. Been building something really, really exceptional there with Fort Stockton. Now, he is familiar with this program. You're thinking, what's the connection here with Jeremy Hickman? Hickman. He was an assistant there in 2000 for 5 years, starting in 2007, including he was their defensive coordinator up until he left in 2011, helping them go to back-to-back regional finals. So he is familiar with this program. This is not a new name to the Cy Woods community, but he did go back out west to coach at his alma mater. Now coming back to Cy Woods is Jeremy Hickman, which leaves now Fort Stockton open. We'll see where they go. Keep an eye on that. But Cy Woods has found their next coach is Jeremy Hickman, moving far east from Fort Stockton to Cy Woods. Speaking of the Houston area, Aldine Eisenhower is looking for a new head coach. Odell James will not return in 2025 after leading the Eagles for the past 2 seasons. He was a local legend down there in Aldine at Aldine MacArthur. He played collegiately at Baylor before going into his coaching career. Kind of bounced around a little bit. He was at Bruni as an athletic director for a couple of seasons in far South Texas, where he went to Corsicana, was on a couple of staffs led by guys like Jason Todd and Reginald Samples and Hal Lawson. From what we understand, Odell James, there is some family issues there going in there, some family health issues. We certainly wish the best for him and his family, which may have predicated this happening. So Aldine Eisenhower is open. They're going to be looking for a new head coach is Aldine Eisenhower. Finally, in the coaching change ranks, let's go down to the Rio Grande Valley, where Edinburgh ISD made a big move last week, and that is doing a real shakeup. Of course, there are a number of schools down there in Edinburgh Consolidated ISD, and 2 of them are going to have new head coaches, and they announced this in one fell swoop as they announced that they are reassigning Edinburgh head coach Rene Guzman and Edinburgh North head coach Damian Gonzalez last week. This is very interesting to see 2 jobs come open all at once. Damian Gonzalez has spent 7 seasons as the head coach there at Edinburgh North, went 28-42, went to 4 playoff appearances during that time. Best year was probably in 2021 when they went 8-3. Edinburgh High has been led by Rene Guzman for the past 4 seasons, going 20-24. Overall, with the 4 playoff appearances every single year, was defensive coordinator at Weslaco East before that. Edinburgh Consolidated ISD is going to be looking for 2 head coaches. That's Edinburgh High and Edinburgh North are both looking for head coaches. And finally, Pickle, I'm glad you're here.
Yes.
Not usually, but for this particular story, I am. Because you are one of the co-hosts of Women Talking Football.
That is correct.
And this has to do with 2 of those things. The first word, women, and the last word, football. So the Dallas Cowboys announced that they are launching a 2025 Spring High School Girls Flag Football League. They had a big announcement on Saturday. Our Carter Yates was there. It was Charlotte Jones as well as Dak Prescott announcing this, and they were making some big claims here. In total, this spring, 86 high school campuses, 54 from DFW, 13 in Austin, and 19 in El Paso, will participate in this flag football league. And they had a big Nike jersey reveal, all of these things. It is probably the biggest step for this sport in this state that we've seen. I know you guys have covered on WTF kind of the burgeoning flag football movement within women's sports, but I will just say that getting the Dallas Cowboys behind it certainly gives it some cachet that you really can't get anywhere else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we had the opportunity about 2 years ago to go out to Fort Worth ISD, which was one of the first independent school districts to really start trying to put an initiative into this. We got to go to a practice and talk about it and get to go out there and try and practice with some of the girls and stuff. And it's great. It's a lot of fun. But things don't actually formulate until you get the backing by people who matter in there. And as much as you would hope that, coaches from Fort Worth ISD or coaches from across the state, it not only takes that, it also takes a financial backing and a place in a company like the Cowboys who are looking to dive into that, to invest in that have the sponsorship opportunities, and as long as they get to buy in, then other sponsors are going to buy in, and that's what it's actually going to take to get this thing off the ground. I
think you're right, and Charlotte Jones, who is the co-owner and the chief brand officer for the Cowboys. It's Jerry Jones' daughter. I don't know if you know that. Or daughter-in-law?
Daughter.
Thank you. Daughter-in-law or daughter. she made a bold statement at this press conference, which we've got on there, quote, "Our goal is to get flag football for women sanctioned in the state of Texas." They want this to be a UIL sport. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. Now, ultimately, the way that I think the best path forward for flag football to be sanctioned as a UIL sport would be something like this, where you get a big money backer to essentially go out there and start it and give it the proof of concept to show the UIL that, yes, there is widespread interest in this. And if you were to sanction it, there would certainly be a line to form these types of teams.
Yeah, and let's be real honest too. This is a great step in the right direction. A backing from the Cowboys, a financial backing of any sort is great to get things off the ground. I do, from taking that cap off and recognizing that, I do see the fundamental issues that the UIL are going to have answers to before they can sanction it. Who is coaching this? Are you going to use high school football coaches to do that? Does this in turn affect other sports? When do you play it? Because you can't, if it is football coaches that are coaching it, you can't coach that and regular football in the fall. So inherently that moves to the spring when there are a ton of other sports going on from a girl's perspective, from basketball to track and field to golf to tennis to softball. Like, there is so much that happens in the UIL in the spring. That's just something that you're going to have to be able to focus on top of, again, the funding is one thing, but that you're talking uniforms, you're talking practice time, you're talking facility times. I think that it's a great thing. I am so much in support of it. I'm glad the Cowboys are in support of it, but there's a lot that's going to have to be figured out before we can get to that point. But this is a great first step.
You're exactly right. The UIL has never operated in a situation where it's like, oh, we're just going to snap our fingers and sanction a new sport. There is a process that goes through this. I know that this has been kicked around by the UIL and more or less just said, let's study it. Let's wait. We're going to wait and see right now. If you are excited about the prospect of girls flag football coming to the state of Texas in a sanctioned way, I think what this does is that restarts and reignites that conversation. But that conversation's still going to happen in the same way of the UIL is going to go through the paces of how does this work, how all those questions that you asked. They're going to be thoughtful about this type of thing. The Cowboys getting involved is gas on that fire. Yeah. But it is in no way a guarantee that it's going to happen next year or be a UIL sport. But I do think that it's going to give it the kind of widespread spotlight.
People are going to start asking questions.
Exactly right.
That's what you added fuel to the fire of people going, wait, why don't we have that? The other thing that I think to keep in mind is even if the UIL decides to do it, it might be a rollout of what we're experiencing right now with like the last UIL sport that was sanctioned, which was water polo, and to where it started off as just 6A, and then now you're looking to go, okay, can 5A, 4A do it? I do not think that there is any way right now that people in the 3A and below classifications could pull that off, just because you really would start to affect the numbers of other schools. But from the 6A ranks, I bet there are plenty of girls in the athletic department that aren't playing softball or something like that would like to. So a lot to digest, but a good backing from the Cowboys. Yeah,
ultimately, the Cowboys being involved, if you want flag football for girls to be sanctioned as UIL sport, this is a good step, but that's all it is. That is a good step in the right direction, and see where that will go. But certainly it'll be fun to watch and see, especially, they said 86 teams across the state of Texas. That is going to be very interesting. Total high school campuses having girls flag football, which will ultimately just be fun to see, and it's fun to see girls get out there getting involved in high school football. So,
I'll go coach.
No. Okay. All right. You guys heard it here first. Although I've seen I've seen your rates. Like you're very expensive.
You got to pay to win.
That's going to do it. Those headlines from the state of Texas. We're Texas Football Today. We're here Mondays and Thursdays on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Hey, you people. Hope you'll consider going to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. We are currently...
Don't consider it. Do it.
Okay. Okay.
We're making threats.
TexasFootball.com/subscribe. You get the 2025 summer edition of Dave Campbell's Texas Football mailed to you before it hits newsstands. You also get a year of Dave Campbell's Texan Live, our streaming platform. If you want to watch some of the very best basketball in the world right now.
We've got semifinals.
Tonight, right?
We don't have any tonight. Everybody's playing tomorrow.
Okay, tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night, TexanLive.com. But you can only watch it by becoming Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. Go to TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Makes a great gift as well. TexasFootball.com/subscribe. Coming up here in just a moment, Greg Powers sits in that chair and we have a recruiting fight. But first, a word from these valued partners.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Potter, Executive Director of Be Well Texas. Too many people are struggling alone these days, and alcohol and drug deaths are increasing. We started Be Well Texas to offer high-quality, science-based addiction treatment and recovery services anywhere, even at home. We provide compassionate, caring support virtually or in person. In many cases, there is no cost for treatment if you don't have insurance. Really. Welcome to Be Well Texas. We're glad you're here.
30-yard line, the 20, the 10.
Hey DFW residents, get your grocery essentials in minutes, not hours or days, with Wing Drone Delivery. Forget about last-minute trips to the store when you need things like cereal for breakfast before school, medicine for a cold, or snacks for a movie night. Wing's drones get you quick, no-contact delivery in as fast as 15 minutes. Say goodbye to last-minute grocery runs and say hello to more of your valuable time. Sign up today.
Back here on Texas Football Today, I'm Greg, that's Ashley. We are now into March. It's March Madness here on Texas Football Today. And who better to bring in the madness than Greg Powers, our Director of Recruiting at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Hi, Greg.
What's up?
You doing good?
I'm doing great.
I'm so glad you're here because we've got a very special edition of This Week in Recruiting on deck. And I don't want people to think that we don't like each other because you're my good friend. But we might have a little bit of a fight. Maybe a little disagreement here. The Battle of the Gregs is what we put on the headline.
Will we?
I guess we'll find out.
I
guess we'll find out because I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Recruiting. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our Director of Recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express.
That would slap right now.
It would slap right now. It probably would.
That's good enough for me.
That's good enough for me.
It really would. I'm hungry.
It would hit. It hits all the time, but like especially like when you're hungry.
Mondays it hits different too.
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, heal your case of the Mondays by going to Chicken Express.
It's a great idea. It's This Week in Recruiting. And normally on this program, we do a couple of different segments, like your recruit on commit of the week, prospect on the rise, things like that. But we want to do something a little bit different because you on TexasFootball.com/recruiting last week unveiled. Was it 100 new 3-stars?
Well, over the last week it was 50.
Okay.
The week before 50.
So over the last 2 weeks, you've revealed 100 new 3-stars in the class of 2026.
Spoiler, 50 more this week.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're rolling out the 3-stars for the class of 2026, which are seniors to be for the next Texas high school football season. And first and foremost, I want you to, because when you do this type of thing, there are some guys that, quite frankly, you are arriving at them to their notoriety at the same time as a lot of other places. 247, our friends at On 3, our friends at Scout and Rivals, etc. But I want to focus particularly on a couple of guys who maybe you feel like you are early on, that you are kind of first through the door, so to speak, to say this is somebody that you should be paying attention to, who's on that three.
I like that.
the 3-star list. And so the first guy I want to talk to, because you sent me an email with these names already, I want to start with a guy who saw the state championships.
Yep.
It is.
You're a little bit surprised that we're 100% first, though, on this name, I think, when you say it.
Austin Vandergrift, quarterback, Miles Teodecki. This guy, I thought, showed out in the state championship game and really proved that, like, yeah, he can make every throw and worthy of being on your recruiting spotlight board.
Crafty left-handed thrower with state championship pedigree, and I would say a pretty good offer list.
Starting to develop,
coming together there for him. North Texas, Texas State, UTEP, UTSA, all those in-state, and then out-of-state schools like Colorado State, Cincinnati, Florida Atlantic, Coastal Carolina. Cincinnati there being a big P4 offer in the Big 12, I think, giving him an opportunity to potentially play a lot of his games in the region, but also play at the P4 level. But I think this is a recruit that more schools will come in on during the spring evaluation period. It's a pretty decent quarterback year, but I would put him in the grouping of, there are a couple of these, top end marquee names, but outside of that, there's a grouping of about 7 or 8 guys. He's in that next grouping, competing for all these offers with those talents. So he could. He could be Kansas State, Oklahoma State. We'll have to find out where all the dust settles, but I think that he has a P4 skill set.
I'll tell you what really stood out to me watching him in that state championship game and being down there on the sidelines. Dude, he is built. Okay,
yeah.
He's 6'2". They list him at 6'2", 205. It would not surprise me if he was playing heavier during his junior year, because he looked like he was just built physically, a guy who can make all the throws, certainly, and like he's got that mentality where he is not going to take off and scramble for a 70-yard touchdown, 3 times a game. But his ability to move within the pocket and move outside the pocket while keeping his eyes downfield, I thought was really on display in that state championship game. And then over the course of the season, really, really grew.
He sees the game really well. I think that's a way to kind of describe what he does so effectively under center. He sees the game so well. He kind of anticipates really well, and that allows him to do exactly what you're saying. He recognizes whether he needs to get out to the right or out to the left, and he kind of has that natural feel for when things are falling down around him. He doesn't get hit with those big blind sides or make a lot of mistakes with how he traverses within the pocket. I love that about his game.
Miles Teodecki, the quarterback at Austin Vandergrift, coming back for his senior year, and going to be a guy that we're going to be paying attention to a lot, a new DCTF 3-star, as is a guy who led his team to the state semifinals, Canyon West Plains offensive tackle Keegan Collins. Speaking of built, 6'5", 275 pounds. But there are guys who, like, you look at the frame and you're like, oh, okay, I can see why you're a 3-star. I look at him and I'm just like, this dude's a mauler out there at the left tackle spot.
I fell in love with him in the playoffs. Was it Alito?
Salina. That took Salina to the mat.
Salina had the orange stuck in.
Yeah,
had
good orange team.
Yeah, good orange team. Fell in love with him during that playoff game, and of course they had a tremendous season. I'm actually surprised. There are some of the sites that don't have a profile for Collins yet, so I'm kind of surprised by that. He's got some pretty good offers, namely Texas Tech is being the big P4 in-state offer for Keegan Collins. Also has Texas State, UTEP, UTSA, Florida Atlantic, and UCF. Does a little bit of everything well. I think he's equally efficient at pass and run blocking. I think that makes him versatile. I think he could slide inside and play guard at the next level. 6'5", 6'6", 275, 280 pounds right now. Has plenty. His long arms are long enough to stick at tackle as well. There's a lot of long attributes for Collins.
He's built really, really well, and also just a guy who plays a little bit nasty. And I've I've really enjoyed watching his tape. He is a guy who we're going to be keeping an eye on there for Canyon West Plains. A new DCTF 3-star is Keegan Collins. Finally, the last one you spotlighted, as you feel like we're pretty early on, going back to the greater Austin area, to Georgetown running back Jet Walker. Okay, this is let me borrow a phrase from Carter Yates. Here's a guy who I'm not really sure why we're first on him, because the numbers are outrageous. He was almost a 2,500-yard rusher last year, and he's already picking up some offers. But this guy, I have really enjoyed watching him, and he runs so tough that I love watching Jet Walker play, and every time he gets the ball, it feels like it's box office, like something fun's going to happen.
Yeah, he didn't struggle at all. Of course, he played at Lampasas before he moved to Georgetown for the 2024 season. To me, the level of competition didn't slow him down whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it didn't. He outproduced, I think, his stats from the year before by 700 yards, 2,348 yards, 38 total touchdowns. That's 10.7 yards per carry in a pretty competitive district. He was the district MVP, and he's 6'2", 215 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an impressive specimen. Jet Walker is a guy who brings I love his athleticism. I think he could play linebacker if he wanted to. So maybe could we put him in that Dawson Pendergrass?
Oh, I like
that.
that.
I mean? Like that was like a DCTF favorite. I feel like Jet Walker's a DCTF favorite as well because of the way that he attacks the game. I think that's why we like him. And Georgetown's pretty low key loaded.
Yeah.
Caden Shearer up front on the offensive line. Spoiler, pay attention to the 3-stars that are coming out this week. This will be, I think, the third straight week that a Georgetown player will have made it to 3-star status. Xavier Warren, a very talented wide receiver there. They got a pair of linebackers over there that I really like. Just a lot of talent at Georgetown, and Jet Walker is a name to know. Houston's already offered him, so I mean he's got some P4 love from the in-state schools.
So those are 3 guys that we feel like in the new batch of DCTF 3-stars at texasfootball.com/recruiting that we're early on. Okay, I want to now challenge you on a couple of guys that I feel like need to be on 4-star watch. Okay? That they've just got upgraded to 3-star, and I'm here to tell you I don't know if that's going to be enough. Okay? There's a couple of guys I got my eye on. One of them, we actually just talked about their coaching change. Let's go to Bernie to talk about their tight end, Ben Bays. Okay? Bernie, tight end, defensive end, Ben Bays. The frame is outrageous. 6'4", 220, right? He was a guy who they spread the ball around so well that like his numbers, I think, are not going to blow you away. 27 catches for 531 yards and 6 touchdowns. Good, but he's also playing both ways there at the 5A level. I think this is a guy who I could see really shooting up recruiting charts once people get an eye on his tape, because he can do a little bit of everything, and that frame plays everywhere.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And the younger brother of Rice Signee Braden Bays as well. So, I mean, those younger brothers at legacy schools tend to work out pretty good. Ben was also the next level athlete, Texas Top 100 Showcase tight end MVP. And since that time, he started to pick up some good traction in his recruitment. He's got some offers to his credit already, and this is a sneaky pick. I like that you went off of the radar. I think this one's like a deep cut, right? Like this one's way off the radar.
Guy, I turned on his tape and I'm like, this guy can do a little bit of everything. Like I love that versatility.
It's going to be an interesting tight end year in the rankings as it is. I've in my mind kind of both of these guys are also 3-stars for now. Zachary Turner actually was just bumped to a 4. Zachary Turner and Ryder Mix. Ryder Mix committed to Oklahoma, and Zachary Turner, it's not really fair to call him a tight end, though.
Yeah.
He's a wide receiver tight end.
Yeah, he's got that kind of like the big slot, basically.
933 yards at Duncanville last year. He has that look first off the bus type of guy. Who's going to be the number 1 tight end is Ben Bays in that mix. Now I'm going to take your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll put Ben Bays in the top tight ends mix.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there's one other guy.
Tight end or DN? Before we move on, tight end or DN based off of what you saw there?
Boy, you're going to make me pick. I think he might be a better D end. But I also know it's a more crowded field, and so he might have a better chance of being a 4-star tight end.
Yeah.
And I'm in this for being right. You know what I mean?
No, I know. Me too.
I don't know. I can see both. Like, that's the thing. I really enjoyed watching. The other thing about him on the tight end side is, like, obviously the numbers and catching the ball, he's fun to watch. Blocking as well.
Yeah.
Like, he's a willing, able, and ferocious blocker, which I think is gonna impress some people too.
I was leaning toward defensive end for my projection of Bays too. Because I thought, oh well, he's going to get a takeover. You know, his brother's gone. He's going to be like the star of the show on defense, probably, right? His tape on defense is pretty good. Until I got a chance to watch him at that next level. He loves having the ball in his. He has like an offensive attitude. So now I'm thinking tight end. He likes having the rock.
So there's one other guy that I want to put on your radar as say, let's consider him for 4-star status. And we're going to go out east to Dangerfield wide receiver Mason Williams. You recently made him a DCTF 3-star. Again, this is a guy who I think the numbers, because they had a couple of other really stud wide receivers on that Dangerfield ball club. But every time I watch him, the word electrifying comes out.
Yeah.
This is a guy who I think can make those big plays and turn that short gain into a game breaker. The other thing about him, and this is why I want to put you on that, because I'm always of the opinion that everyone who follows football is smarter than I am. He's got 2 offers right now, right? UTSA and Miami.
Yep.
Okay. To me, that feels like they've spotted something. Those are 2 programs. Miami, obviously a big program. They come into the state of Texas, and they are kind of snipers trying to get 1 or 2 big guys on that. UTSA, on the other hand, under Jeff Traylor, has made hay on finding those guys that nobody else is finding. And I think Mason Williams could be that next guy. I might be blowing up Jeff Traylor's spot here by saying I think Mason Williams could be the next big thing out there in East Texas.
I'm not going to argue against Mason Williams. 6'3", 175 pounds. I think the way to describe his game is smooth. Whenever you said you're going out east, my mind immediately turned to Alzur Miles II out of Kaufman, who we just made a 3-star. So I thought, he's going to pick Miles, who would have been like one of those guys that I could have said, we're first on him. But I think he might be a 4-star maybe on some other service. So that's where my brain went. But I love the pick of Mason Williams. He was one of the stars of the state 7-on-7 tournament as well. And I think that you're turning on your vision biased.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you saw this guy with your own 2 eyes. You're now vision biased to Mason Williams.
I think that's fair. He's a guy who I think impressed me at 7-on-7. And like again, a guy who looks really good getting off the bus. You know what I mean? Like the frame is really impressive. And then you see him play and his ability, you mentioned smooth, and his ability just to high point things.
Yeah.
There are guys who have that big frame, but they're not great at using it. He uses it.
He kind of like lulls you to sleep, and then boom.
Yeah.
Something explosive happens.
Exactly.
I get exactly what you're saying, and why I can see why you would. I can definitely see why you would make this pick.
So Mason Williams, a guy to keep an eye on.
I'm not going to argue against your. I'm not going to argue against.
I signed up for a fight.
Oh.
Well, I'm going to counterpoint with my picks on 3 stars. I'm going to go with one that I really liked. We talked about Miles, Isaiah Lee in Lancaster, the running back there. He played safety 2 years ago, or it was like kind of like a Mr. Do-It-All for them. They lost Kawan Lacey, and they needed a running back to step up. I got to watch him very early in the season. It was actually the first game against North Crowley, and he played really well, but he got progressively better throughout the course of this. That's one that I'm feeling like, because he got so much better game over game. Is Isaiah Lee one of those guys? That's one of the ones really, like, one of the ones that I had a hard time like laying my pillow.
He could be that guy that, like, we're 3 games into the 2025 season and you're like, I could have been first to make him a 4-star, and now it's obvious he's a 4-star. You know, just getting a little bit more tape on him could be really, really huge.
We talked about Ryder Mix. I love him a lot. I could really fall into that one as well. But there is also a kid at Cy Ranch that's really been taken off, and that's Calvin Thomas, the outside linebacker. Notre Dame recently offered him. He started getting a lot of scholarship offers from all over. So, like, if you're looking at one of these 3 stars and you're saying, oh, here's a guy who could be 4 stars everywhere, the name that I'd probably really watch is Calvin Thomas.
He's Greg Powers. He's a name we always watch here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Thanks, Powers.
Appreciate it.
Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
We do have a question. What is the average number of schools added in realignment, and is that projected to increase significantly with the population growth in Texas?
So it's interesting. I think I looked this up the other day. I believe last year we added, 19 UIL schools.
Okay.
Some of those are new schools opening. Some of those are also schools that haven't played football before that are, like we talked about Pawnee program that just kind of relaunched football. So I would say overall you can usually count on adding about 20 schools every UIL cycle. We already know there's a couple more. Katie Freeman, there's a new Katie school. A number of other schools that are going to be coming open here the next realignment. So I would say that 20 is probably about what you can bank on. That obviously, once that number, that kind of gets into a 7-8 conversation of, like, once that number gets to a certain point, we probably need to reconsider how realignment works. I don't think that's on the horizon for 2026. But that is something to keep an eye on, is what is the number of teams that are joining the UIL and how will that impact realignment moving forward. So there you go. There's your answer.
That's all I got.
That's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at DCTF. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com. I'm looking at the wrong camera. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at texasfootball.com. Thanks again to Greg Powers for helping on. Thanks, Powers.
Oh, you're welcome.
For Ashley Pickle and VNA Moreno, I'm Craig Tepper.
Yeah, my bad.
Vince Young, please get your Player of the Year trophy. We will see you Thursday on Texas Football Today.